Anyway, welcome to the BAAM Ranch Survival Podcast or Preparedness Podcast. We'll have to come up with a name for it. I'd always wanted a podcast, so I finally just went ahead and made one. This is going to be a little bit different than the normal video stuff. This is where we're going to kind of discuss things that aren't necessarily, video type discussions, deep dives and stuff like that. So feel free to just, listen to me in the background while you're busy folding dishes or whatever it is that you're doing. And I'll do about a dozen or so of these and then put them up on Spotify and iTunes, depending on how well this all goes over. I'm doing it live so I can interact with you guys. So be sure and let me know, if you hear me say something, if there's any suggestions you have, and if there's something you want me to address, please put the first couple words in all caps and I'll go back through and try to answer those the best I can from time to time whenever I kind of get to a somewhat stopping point. So, pull that up over here. Like I said, y'all let me know if you can hear me all right. Okay, so run down the bullet points of today's show. Why am I doing this? Why did I start a podcast instead of just a YouTube channel? And what is the whole sole purpose of it? I'll go ahead and say the mission statement of not just the YouTube channel, the BAAM Ranch YouTube channel. Let me adjust y'all right quick. But this podcast as well is helping to build lives we love living through preparedness-based homesteading for when times get hard, even if they never do. We're going to touch on the preparedness foundation of lifestyle design, about building, what your normal is. Establishing that, Doomsday versus Tuesday, living good even before the crash. The pillars of the show, which are preparedness, freedom, self-sufficiency, self-reliance, and personal excellence. We'll discuss preparedness, primarily what we're going to discuss in this one. So preparedness, continuing your normal whenever, strict limits on government, but having very few limits on your personal life. Self-sufficiency and self-reliance. If you want them to do more, you have to do less. There is a difference between the two. They're both important, and why really getting kind of hoping to get to 100% of either one of those is actually pretty difficult. And personal excellence. This is, how do we become healthier, wealthier, smarter, stronger, and better? That's what this whole thing is going to be about. And this is going to be kind of an introduction to get us going on where we're going to go in future podcasts. Let's see. Creative redundancy. If you're still around, hello. Good to see you in here. All right, go back to the top of my notes here. Okay, so I don't ask for a whole lot of help, but I really kind of want to make this podcast and the YouTube channel do well. So please hit the thumbs up, and if y'all watch Andy Frisella, you'll kind of hear him say, "Don't be a hoe, share the show." So like, share, subscribe, all of that stuff, and let's give the YouTube algorithmic robots a swift kick in the balls. And also, let me know what I can improve on. I know the sound kind of sucks today. I'll improve that in the future. It's just not a today thing, and I'm not going to let perfect be the enemy of good. So why did I start this whole thing to begin with? Well, if you've done any looking around in the whole preparedness realm, that whole wheelhouse on YouTube or Google or anything else, all you see is primarily two things, and that's this incredible doomsday, explosions in the background of the thumbnails, and World War III is going to start. And somebody has it on good authority, but they can't tell you who their source is, and everything's doom and gloom, and time's running out, all of that. Or, if you just buy my stuff, you'll be all right. You'll survive everything if you just buy my stuff, which I'm not opposed to that. Capitalism, I'm all for it. It's just sometimes the value exchange doesn't quite add up to what they're trying to push. So that's kind of why I started this. There's a lot of stuff that we need to discuss that actually is probably more important than half that other stuff. Fear and gear. Yeah, fear and gear. You're exactly right. So that's why I'm here. Discuss some of the stuff that normally doesn't quite get discussed near as much. So, preparedness, we want to build a life that we love living. So, this is really more of a lifestyle design type thing rather than just a prepper show, right? Now, we do have a foundation based on preparedness. And to define preparedness, it's nothing more than making sure that you can continue what your normal is when everyone else's normal stops. So everybody else freaked out. Hey, you may not even know it happened, or at least you've changed as much of what your normal is as compared to, everybody else that's freaking out, right? When the systems go down, regardless of what that system may be. Maybe a electrical system, the emergency services system, even the system of society. Whenever that stops, how can you continue your normal? Because we want to live good before the crash, right? We don't want to have to wait to the end of the world to live good lives. So in order to do that, we need to establish what our normal is now. What is your normal today? And is that the normal that you want it to be? Because the scariest place you can ever be is an unchanged and unimproved person 5 years from today. It's all about, like I said, building a life that we love to live, something that we enjoy living. Excuse me. So we kind of get into the whole Doomsday versus Tuesday type thing. Doomsday may never happen, but Tuesday happens every single week. Chances are you're going to be a whole lot more well served by being ready for just the normal everyday stuff that happens on Tuesday rather than just when the world ends, right? So the pillars of this show, like I said, we discussed it: preparedness, freedom, self-sufficiency, self-reliance, and personal excellence. And something to note about all of these is they're all important. They're all important, and none of them are really more important than the next. And they all have an equal weight. There's no limit to how much you can improve these areas, these pillars of preparedness. So let's go ahead and break. Like I said, as defined, the ability to do now to continue your normal when everyone else's stops. And preparedness sort of breaks down, at least in my mind, into 5 categories. That's shelter, food and water, safety and security, transportation, and financial stability. Comments right quick. So, shelter. And before I move on, I want to say that all of these are, they start up here. This is where we need to start up here and then realize they degrade as we go down, as things start to get worse, right? So everything degrades to a man-portable system. Shelter. What we're normally talking about when we discuss shelter is our home, a place where we live. I'm in my garage right now. This is my shelter. When you're driving to work, that's your shelter. When you get out of, the truck or car or whatever it is that you took to work, the clothes that you're wearing, that's your shelter. Same, and breaks down into a bug out bag. And then once we have determined what the shelter is, how do we maintain that shelter? So that could be with the house. If something normal stops, the electricity stops, do I have a way to keep that going? So it's a generator, okay? What do I have to keep the generator going? That's fuel, normal repairs, maintenance, things like that. That once again extends into the wherever we're at. While we're at work, work is our shelter. So what can we do to improve that? Food and water. Food and water are absolutely essential. say the obvious there. So as far as preparedness with food, we need to have enough of it set back that we can actually do some good with it, right? So that we don't have to go to the grocery store every single day. With food, do you know how to prepare it? This is our normal life stuff. And then we take food and we put it on a shelf for when we need it. Once we have it on a shelf, then we start taking food, we put it in the ground and we put it on the hoof. This is where the self-sufficiency and self-reliance comes in. Water. Water is way more important than what people think. We all understand that we have to have it, but people don't quite understand just how much of it is actually needed. So what is your water supply? Because here's the newsflash, no matter how much water you actually store, it's probably not enough to get you very far. 5 gallons per person per day goes by really quick on a family of 5. So having the ability to replenish water is probably more important than the ability to store water. Transportation. Transportation is, yes, water equals life. Transportation is of absolute importance. It's the way that we get to work so we can earn a paycheck to have the shelter and buy the food and all of this other stuff. So transportation is incredibly important. Normally we think of, my pickup outside, my wife's car, transportation. The four-wheeler out there, my riding lawnmower is transportation if it needs to be. The boots on my feet, because everything degrades to a man-portable system. The boots on my feet are part of transportation. And then safety and security. Well, I guess this is the part where you've got Matt's permission to go buy you a gun, right? You want to go buy you a gun, you've got my permission, but it goes much deeper than that as well. Safety and security includes things like PPE, a pair of good leather gloves, or safety equipment, right? A hat, just a simple ball cap, that's safety equipment. So yes, we're talking about self-defense and things like that, but we need to just remember not get caught and stuck on that it's only guns, because it's the gun stuff, the tactical stuff is just a small, like 5% or less of what this whole thing actually is. And if your plan, whenever things get bad, safety glasses, yes, safety glasses also. So anyway, lost my train of thought there. I need to leave these comments alone and just check on them every now and then. Security. Security is, my wife is in the chat. What's up, wife? So security goes pretty deep into, yes, the firearm stuff, but what is your neighborhood like? Do you live where the problem is? If things really start getting bad with, civil unrest, being in the worst neighborhood out, of Los Angeles probably isn't quite as good. My wife and I struggled with this for many years until we bought the place that we're at right now. This was a security decision. It's a decision to not be where the problem's at. That's the ultimate way to prevent all of that stuff. If you can't do anything about your physical location, what have you done to make your place more secure than the next? If you just make your house look a little harder to cause bad stuff to happen at than your neighbor's house, well, that's a step in the right direction. And financial stability. This is something that we all struggle with. But without financial stability, you're not going to have transportation. You're gonna lose your shelter. You can't afford to eat. You can't afford to go to the gun store, which my wife is in the chat. She needs to take me to the gun store. So without financial stability, you're really, really screwed. And people, the minute you say that, somebody comes on and tells you something about, yeah, but whenever the SHTF and it all hits the fan and the balloon goes up, the money won't matter. But the fact is, money matters today, right? Money still works right now. And having money allows you to be agile in everything that you do. It allows you to take advantage of situations that other people aren't. You know, kind of like what I said last week. The person who has the $10,000 four-wheeler that ran out of money, well, you can come and pick that up for $3,000 because you've got the $100 bills just to slap down on the ground. And the preparedness part of this is the one thing that I know will happen that we have to prepare for is there's going to come a time whenever we aren't able to work and earn our own living anymore. So that's called retirement, right? What if you fall off your porch tomorrow and break your leg and you got to miss several weeks of work? That's retirement, or that's a financial stability preparedness. Go ahead and check in on the comments right quick. I actually have a pretty active chat today. So I got several people in here. Y'all be sure and hit the thumbs up button if you're watching so that we can kind of get this to push out through the algorithm there. So the next subject we get to is freedom. Buffer zone. Freedom, strict limits on government and little to no limits on your personal life. Now, we can't change what limits the government or what reach the government has in our lives. You and I can't necessarily change the laws, but we can do things to allow that to not affect us, right? You could call this liberty, but I chose freedom because it's about more than just, my liberties and my freedoms, but also personal freedom as well. Have you done the things necessary that if your boss at work is a jerk and you can just tell him to go screw because you're going to find another job anyway, and you've already got, 4 months of full on, income setback, and you could double that by just cutting your expenses just a little bit. When your boss is a jerk to you, then you don't care because you've made sure that you had the freedom to go do something about that. Okay, limits on government action. The way you overturn any type of government action is not to start a revolution. It's to render them obsolete. And that right there is not as hard to do in most situations as what most people tend to believe. For example, we lived in the city limits for a while. We had to mess with a municipal government telling us where we're allowed to park our vehicles. If we don't have water service turned on, they're going to come and write us a ticket. And if we don't pay that ticket, there will be some guy show up with a badge and a gun and lock us in a cage. We had to put up with sound laws and, what types of stuff I'm allowed to store on my own yard. So we just rendered that obsolete when we bought this place that we're at now. We don't have any restrictions. We don't have to apply for a permit and get permission if we want to go out back and build a shop. We just do it, and it doesn't matter. Now we may, consider how the neighbors feel about that, but nobody has any say on that. Nobody can tell us what to do. We don't get in trouble for not having water service. We've got our own private well. We've got our own private septic system. So in that way, We didn't necessarily rise up against a city government. We just rendered them obsolete, where they just don't matter to us anymore. They just have no control on us there. But one thing you need to remember about that is, if you want them to do less, that means you need to do more. And that's part of it. Out here to this place. But that's something we were willing to do, to be able to go out in the front yard and shoot guns, to be able to go dove hunting off the back deck. That's something that we were willing to do. We have full responsibility of our water well if that goes down. We can't call and have them come fix the sewer whenever septic goes out. But us willing to do more causes them to be able to do less. The same thing could be said about, the school systems. You can move your children to another school. You can pull your kids out to homeschool. There's all different sorts of freedom that we don't necessarily think about. We don't like the way this school does things. We have the ability to render that particular school obsolete by either homeschooling or moving our children to a different school. Food systems, all that, with all the stuff going on in the food system and E. coli, and now I guess there's they always have some different kind of animal flu going around. But that's something that can be relatively easily solved by rendering obsolete. The easiest way to do this is just to simply learn how to cook. Learn how to cook something from scratch. Start with wheat and end up with pancakes. Start by making an imitation of Olive Garden or Fazoli breadsticks. That right there is freedom that you have. That's rendering the overseeing places obsolete, right? The three-letter agencies, the big they, that's rendering them obsolete because you're able to do that yourself. How many times do you think a bell pepper gets taxed before it winds up in your grocery store and is sold to you? The farmer gets taxed on it, the labor gets taxed on it, the equipment used to grow that bell pepper gets taxed. It's taxed when it's loaded on a truck, it's taxed whenever it's sold to the market. It's taxed over and over. That thing is probably, the USDA gets taxed, the highway department gets their tax. All of this goes into just taxing a bell pepper because you wanted to make some fajitas. Just render that obsolete. Grow your own damn bell pepper. Let's see, moving on here, if I can keep my spot from getting lost in here. Freedom in life. Well, get out of here. You won't talk to me like that? I'm gone. Well, you have to build the freedom in your life to be able to do that. You have to do more if you expect them to be able to do less. It's not something that you can just do. You have to build that freedom. What about the ability to sign your own paycheck? That's the ultimate freedom in earning. What if it's just, saying no to an HOA, right? An HOA is just a form of voluntary taxation and extra government. If you live in an HOA, what can you do to get out of there? Anything that you can do to limit your dependence on outside influence adds freedom to your personal life. Moving on to the next pillar, self-sufficiency and self-reliance. Let's see if anybody has any questions right quick. But self-sufficiency and self-reliance, let me turn this a little bit so y'all can see me while I'm reading. Self-sufficiency and self-reliance are two completely different things. People use those terms interchangeably, but they are two completely different things. Let's see, if you have something that you want me to address, Type the first couple letters, first couple words of that in all caps, and I'll come back and find them here in just a moment. I only have one good eye, and the other one really isn't that good either. If my wife is still on the chat, she can attest to that. But self-reliance is the stuff that is a measure of time that you can go without outside influence. Where self-sufficiency is a percentage of what you can do without outside influence. So use the battery equation. If I have a flashlight and if I turn it on, it uses a battery per hour, and I have 10 batteries. Well, then I have 10 hours of self-reliance to be able to power that battery. If it's food, if I, in my garden or some type of livestock or whatever it may be, with the food, if I can grow 25% of my food, then I'm 25% self-reliant. Whereas if I have 3 weeks of food or 3 months or 3 years of food on the shelf, that's self-reliant. Sorry, I said that backwards. Food on the shelf is self-reliance. Food on the hoof or in the ground that you produce is self-sufficient. So self-sufficient is a percentage, and self-reliance is a measure of time. And this could be many, many things. It's the preparedness stuff, the gear, the stuff that you bought and set back, your beans and rice, all of that stuff. It could be a garden or livestock, water. We've discussed water many, many times already. Money. So money that you can earn by your own doing, a side hustle, a business, that is self-sufficient, right? To some lesser extent, your job that you go to every day is adding to your self-sufficiency. So do you have to rely on, extra help or whatever? That could be that. But also, you consider yourself 100% completely not self-sufficient if you have one singular income coming into your home. And if something happens to that, you're out of there, man. So what can you do to get your self-sufficiency up a little bit as far as your money situation, your income? And then your self-reliance end of it is putting some cash back. Having some money in savings, having some hard assets, whether that be cash or, some other type of income that pays you an asset of some kind. This YouTube channel just recently got monetized. I make like 16 cents per video. So yeah, I'm like a quarter of a second worth of self-reliant, or, I've added like a millionth of a percent of self-sufficiency through this, but who knows? Maybe we can grow it well to do more than that. And then we move to the last one, personal excellence. Once again, healthier, wealthier, smarter, stronger, better. What is there you can do about your health? Well, I'm drinking just water right now. That helps with my health. I could be drinking Dr. Pepper. I'd rather be drinking a Dr. Pepper. And the truth be told, if I had a Dr. Pepper, I'd be drinking that instead of this water. But we'll move on from that. Your health as far as, diet and exercise. Can you eat a little bit more healthy? That's obviously going to help you. Getting exercise. Do you need to spend a whole day working out if you push 5 acres? Well, probably not. That is. My wife says, that's my cup. Yes, it is. And it's your straw too. Y'all like my pretty pink straw? So what can you do as far as your health? I'm falling behind on that I need to get on the ball and fix. And I need to fix it now while all of that stuff is available. It's expensive, yes. But I'll tell you what, it could come a time whenever it's a whole hell of a lot more expensive than it is currently. Wealthier. Growing your wealth and This is one that nobody wants to talk about because, oh, the money doesn't matter when the end of the world. But the secret to this is think about if there's a house fire. Do they get one truck with the biggest hose and spray as much water to put that fire out as possible and then just rely on that? And if it doesn't work, oh, well, I guess we'll just learn. No, they don't. They get like 5 or 6 trucks and they all shoot different streams onto the problem to fix the problem. We need to think of our wealth the same way. How many different streams of income can we have? If one goes down, the others can pick back up. So adding streams of income to grow your wealth, and then investing your wealth, whether that be through the traditional ways of, just throwing money in the S&P 500, buying the newer stuff like Bitcoin, which we won't get into today, buying real estate, investing in your 401k, diversity. Yes, creative redundancy says diversity. Having, all the eggs in one basket. That's the most violated prepper rule ever, is everybody puts all of their eggs in one basket, and it's a fragile basket when it comes to wealth as the prepper world. Smarter. What did you learn to do today? What do you want to learn to do by the end of the week? We've got a total of 6 people in the chat and 3 thumbs up, man. What's wrong with that? Y'all, come on, help me out a little bit. So what did you learn? What are you currently learning? What can you learn, and how will that benefit you? There's no excuse for somebody to stop constantly learning. I had no idea how to do a podcast 2 weeks ago. I didn't let that stop me. I still need to rip the audio from this so I can upload it to, iTunes and Spotify. I don't have that. But, I'm not going to let perfect be the enemy of good. I'm going to learn what I can right now and then figure out the rest as I go. We're going to learn by doing. Maybe it's learning how to fix your stuff that's broke. If you're like me, everything you own is broke, right? Stronger. We kind of touched on exercise just a second ago, but what can you do to get stronger? Stronger, not just physically, y'all seen me, I'm a skinny guy. I think I'm, at least average of anybody else, but stronger with, stronger of mind, stronger willpower to get something done. What about a stronger relationship with your spouse? It's not just all about the muscles. What can you do to build a stronger foundation of everything? And the sum of all of these is to be better. Healthier, wealthier, smarter, stronger, better. How did you get better today? My biggest fear in the world is to be at the same spot 5 years from now that I'm at today. I want my hero to be me 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, and so on. We're going to keep this one fairly short. Let me go ahead and check all these comments right quick and turn this back down here. So went for a walk today, started more seeds. My wife calling me out that I jacked her cup. Hey, creative redundancy, I appreciate you being active in the chat. I really do. I really actually do appreciate that a lot. Hopefully we can get some interaction with this podcast and I'll continue it. I'm going to do about a dozen or so episodes, give it a good run and try to see what we can get out of it. And then maybe we can start making it a good thing and kind of get all this hammered out a little bit better, make it flow a little bit better. But anyway, in closing, all of the stuff that we did today, even if you're not some super hardcore prepper, if you improve just the tiniest 0.5% on all of this stuff, it's impossible to not be living a better, more enjoyable life. It's there's no scenario where improving on even just one of these things won't improve your life tremendously. You know, the common denominator in everything, everything that we do, everything that is going good in your life, everything that's going bad in your life, the common denominator in that is you. And we're caught up a lot in this victim world, but you have a whole lot more control over changing the direction of your life than what, social media likes to admit. And that's a good thing. With that being said, if you screwed everything up and you're in the dumps and nothing's working out for you, well, there's a pretty good chance that that might possibly be your damn fault. So you have the ability to move yourself forward. Just exit the comments and hit the thumbs up. I had to figure it out. So anyway, I think the next episode, we're going to deep focus on just the preparedness part. And I enjoy doing this. We're going to do a deep dive on that. I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to do that. I'm probably going to keep it right now, doing one a week. But then I want to try to eventually shoot for like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and mix that in along with the other videos that I do. And we've got a lot of stuff that needs to be done. I have got to get ahead of some projects. Otherwise, my wife is going to kill me. So if she's still in the chat, she'll probably attest to that. But with every one of these podcasts, I'm going to give you some homework. And that is learn how to cook something from scratch. Come back. I'm going to post this. It'll probably post as a regular video tomorrow. Come back and let me know. Learn how to cook something from scratch that you haven't done. He's a good starter of projects. Hey, I run out of time and materials. I start something and then I realize I don't have everything. I got to put it off, and then I get 15 more projects going. Keyword starter. Hey, I finish them. It's just after I get all my other stuff done. The 14,000 projects that come up after I had to put that one on pause. But anyway, y'all learn how to cook something from scratch. I'm going to go check the comments again right quick, see y'all have any questions or anything that y'all want to discuss or anything before we jump off. I don't know who all is still in this chat, but let's see. My wife over there, she's the biggest shit talker of them all, I think. But that's fine. That's fine. She's truly allowed to do that. And I earn every criticism that she's ever given me, whether it's in humor or for real. Well, it doesn't look like I've got anything necessarily. Let's see. Eventually, boy, that eventually never happens. That is the absolute truth. I do have a chicken coop that I need to get finished up, and I need to get on the ball with that. Another project that I need to get done is our water well, the wellhead. It looks ugly. So I'm going to build a wishing well to put over that. I need to get that done. I've got a riding mower that I had to go mow this weekend. I didn't get that done. Well, I got the mowing done that I wanted to get done, but I went out there to get the riding mower going, and I've got a hole in the gas tank. I'm talking a giant crack that pours fuel out faster than I can pour it. The belt for the blades is shredded, and I need a battery. I've got, 10,000 projects. I'll try to film as many of those as I can, do a video on them. Let's see, I guess anybody else have anything before I jump out of here? It is about 8:40, which I'm going to have to go get my daughter from work here before long. So if nobody else has anything, we'll go ahead and close this out and call it good. As soon as I figure out how to close this live stream, that is. All right, nothing else. Well, anyway, until next time, let's see. Make content with it. There you go. Yeah. Actually, you'd be surprised how much content. Let's see. So When are you live? I don't know. We'll go ahead and try to. We'll shoot for next Monday at 8 o'clock for live, and try to. You just said you were gonna. My wife. We'll try to shoot for next Monday at 8 o'clock, and hopefully, if things are going well, we can kind of, add to that, do them more often. I would like to do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I don't know if we'll be able to do it that often, but that's what I want to shoot for eventually. For right now, it's just going to be Monday at 8 o'clock. All right, guys, I'm going to figure out how to turn this thing off, and we'll catch y'all next time.